Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby and today we're going to be talking about my MEPS experience. So for those of you that don't know, which is probably most of you, I'm going into the Army as a 42 Romeo, which is a musician. Today's video is all about my MEPS experience. I enlisted while I was at school in Ohio, so I worked with the Cleveland MEPS, and I'm just going to tell you what went down. So prior to going to MEPS, you're gonna fill out your enlistment packet. I've heard it called different things, but it's basically this large questionnaire of anything and everything pertaining to your medical background. Like anything from, have you had a child before? Do you have acne? Like, have you broken a bone? Things like that. So you're gonna check yes or no on this big list of questions, and before you go to MEPS, your recruiter or the station commander, whomever, should go over that packet again with you. One of the things that you want to make sure of going into MEPS is that you stick to the information that you already gave to your recruiter. Now, when you go in, they will super warn you, your recruiter should, about the doctors at MEPS trying to kind of make you stumble and confess to things that you didn't have in your information. Do not fall for it. I personally didn't really have that experience at all. My doctor pretty much just asked me about what was on my packet, and that was it. He didn't try and be like, oh, I see that you were in a car accident in 2010, and then you're like, oh, well, yeah, I was just the passenger. You weren't in a car accident in 2010. So I was set up to have my physical on a Thursday. But I had to go up to the MEPS on Wednesday to do a confirmation test for my ASVAB. Now, I decided to take the PICAT, which I have no idea what that stands for. What I've learned is a lot of people in the military will just spout off these acronyms and they don't even know what they mean. So I took the PICAT, which is basically just an online version of the ASVAB. I think it took me about 3 hours to complete, and I did it honestly. I only used scratch paper, no calculators, no Google, just take it honestly. Your recruiter should set you up with like a code, and then you go to the website, type in your code, do your test, and then they will give you your scores. So I ended up scoring super well. I got a 95 as my overall score, and then my AP, QT, whatever it is. I have my scores there, I could tell you, but it was in like the 120s. So I scored really well, because if you do the online test, you have to do a confirmation test when you get to MEPS. Rode up to MEPS on a Wednesday. Someone from the station took us up there. It wasn't my recruiter. It was me, one kid who was drinking a half gallon of this chocolate soy milk stuff because he needed to gain weight, and then the other kid was I think he was a police officer, and so I have no idea what his career goals were, but he was a little bit older like I was. Up there on Wednesday, I think both of them had to take the actual ASVAB, and I just had to do a confirmation. So we checked in and everything, and then I went in to do my confirmation test, and basically, it'll explain to you on the screen. So basically, the confirmation test will pull a sampling from each subject of the test that you already took. Now, a lot of my questions were ones that I recognized from the test I took. A lot of other people say that their questions were completely different. So I can't tell you either way, but my questions, a lot of them were the same. The computer should do its math and figure out, okay, this person clearly cheated, or this person's questions are matching their first set of answers, and therefore they did not cheat, i.e. they're confirmed to keep their original score. It also says that some people will be randomly selected to take the entire test again, so I don't know if it'll tell you that or if you'll just have to assume that you didn't answer correctly. Basically, don't cheat if you take the online test at home, and then do your best to answer the same on the confirmation test, and you should be fine. Now, after I did my confirmation, or after you take your full ASVAB, you'll have to take one more computer literacy test. It's super easy, and then a TAPAS, which I need to stop using air quotes. The TAPAS is a personality test, and it doesn't count for anything. You can't answer the questions wrong. All it is another measurement for the military to compare things over time. That was all I did on Wednesday at MEPS. And then, like I said, after I finished my testing, went straight to the hotel. So I probably got to the hotel around 6:30. And what you'll do is you'll go into this military like meeting room type thing, and there will be a liaison there who should be checking you in and getting all your paperwork and assigning you rooms. And this is where, if you hadn't already gotten this at MEPS, this is where you're really gonna find out that you have to listen and do what you're told. When I walked in, there was probably 10 kids there already. And I say kids because I'm 24. I am, from what I can tell, not your typical background of a future soldier, future airman, whatever, because I'm doing such a specialized job. But a lot of these kids were 17, 18 years old, still in high school or just out of high school. So when I walked in, there was like 10 kids there. And the liaison, who happened to be a retired Marine, said, if you haven't checked in yet, get in this line with your ID, and if you have, sit in the blue chairs. Well, I don't know if they just thought sitting was a weakness or they were scared or whatever, but those kids didn't sit down. And then the next thing you know, we have a screaming Marine. So listen, follow directions, even if they don't make sense, which sitting makes sense, but yeah, just pay attention, do what you're told. So you're gonna get all signed in, you'll probably get a roommate. I got a roommate, and the poor girl, I think she told me she was a sophomore in college, so she wasn't fresh out of high school or anything, but she was very small, very quiet and scared about things, and I tried my best to like get her to go to dinner with me. Did she want to go to the gym, like to talk to her about things? And I don't know if she quickly learned that the military wasn't for her or if something happened with her paperwork, but the next day at MEPS, you're with the same people all day, so you recognize faces, and there were only 8 girls, and by the time we got to our classroom, there was only 7 girls, and my roommate wasn't there. So I guess just know if you really want to do this before you put yourself through going to MEPS. You will have a dinner voucher for that night. It's probably a limited menu. We had like a pasta, a burger choice, chicken, and a salad. And people were saying in other videos that they got dessert. We didn't get dessert. Not that I needed it, but I'm pretty sure I had a salad, and then I went to the gym and just did a bunch of cardio and got to bed probably around 9 o'clock. They will tell you all of the information you need to know for your stay at the hotel, what time you need to be where, all of those things. So again, make sure you pay attention. We had to be up and down at breakfast by 4:45. We were gonna leave at 5. So I set my alarm for 4 o'clock, I think. The night before, I showered, set out all my clothes, had my other stuff packed up and ready to go so I could just change, wash my face, and head down to breakfast. For us, you need to bring all your stuff down with you to breakfast. You can't come down to breakfast and go back up, because your room key will be your ticket to breakfast. They had a whole spread of cereal, fruit, eggs, your typical breakfast spread. That morning, you do want to make sure that you eat something for breakfast, because you will be giving blood later in the day, and the last thing you want to do is be that person that passes out. So I'm pretty sure I just had like a small bowl of Special K or something and a banana. For us, like I said, there was under 30 of us, so we could all fit on one bus. I've heard of people being split into vans and buses, things like that. Just follow directions. I would say if you are going to be on a bus, be towards the front, and I'm going to tell you why next. Whenever we pulled up to the MEPS, you should have like a leader with you this entire time, someone to like take your ticket at breakfast and direct you along. And that person told us whenever we pulled up to MEPS to go to these lines that were on the ground and line up. Now, I went to MEPS in February, so it was cold, and I am a cold person to begin with. So I say be towards the front, because that means you will get into the building faster. So we lined up outside of MEPS. They will direct you in how it's supposed to be. If you're new to military lingo, the formation might be tricky, but just move quickly and with a purpose. I had to stand outside in the cold while the security people kind of gave us the lowdown of directions into and around the building, what you're gonna do when you get inside, and what you need to do to get through security. So if you have a belt or anything, they will give you time, short amount of time, to take it off and put it in your bag. They basically want anything that's like in your hands or loose or pockets or anything to go in your bag. That way they can move people through the line as quickly as possible. Put your shoes on the line first so your bag can push it through, just like in the airport, and just listen. Just don't be the person to make the first mistake. It's gonna be early, and just suck it up and do what you're supposed to do. So we finally are getting through the security line. All you should have in your hands is an ID. They should tell you that too. Here's a tip for ladies or gentlemen if you have body piercings. I have quite a few ear piercings, and the cartilage ones are kind of annoying to take out sometimes. You cannot have any jewelry on when you go to MEPS except for a wedding band engagement ring, I think. So if you have earrings or necklaces or bracelets, anything like that, just take them off before you get there. If not, you'll have like some moments after you go through security when you go into your like storage room to take all of your stuff out. But if you go to the medical wing and you have jewelry on, they're just gonna send you back to take it out, and then you're gonna be at the end of whatever line you were in again. Go through, store all your stuff away, head to your liaison's office, do that first. Like I said, this is my experience, but people were going to the control desk before they were checking in with their liaison, and it's just wrong. Just do what you're supposed to do in the order you're supposed to do it. So I go to the Army office. There's probably, I don't know, like 12, 15 of us. I'd say a good portion of the people in our shuttle that day were for the Army, and so that's where you'll meet your counselor, and they should have you signed in by your recruiter, and that's where we got our folder that you'll kind of be passing around all day, and also our name tag. And then once you get that, you can go ahead and check in with the control desk. They might give you more papers, and then you go to medical. And so medical is where you're kind of in your own world with those couple people that are working the medical wing. So once you get to medical, you're gonna check in again, and then you're going to go through a series of stations. So for us, I've heard of people saying that they had as many as 70 people in their shuttle. For us, like I said, it was under 30. I'm gonna go with the number 25. So for us, we were all kind of shuffled through the vision station, and the different vision tests that you have to do kind of vary depending on your branch. For me, it was a simple like regular reading letters like you do at the optometrist, and there was one where you had to focus on a house in the distance, and then the computer would like auto correct for you. And then there was a colorblind test where you just read the numbers. So that's all I had to do for Army. I've heard of different things for different branches. One thing though is if you wear contacts like I do, I was worried about doing all of the mobility movements and stuff throughout the day wearing my glasses. I don't know why. You could definitely wear your glasses all day, but if you want to wear your contacts, just be sure to bring your glasses case, and contact case. What I would do is in the morning when you leave, just put your contacts in, dump the solution that was in there overnight, and then refill it with fresh solution. That way, when it comes to the vision test and you have to take your contacts out, that they can just stay in some nice fresh stuff, and then you can pop them back in whenever you are done with your vision test. So after vision, we went to hearing, and for that, you basically step into a chamber that's about, I don't know, 8 feet long. You're pretty close to people. There were 6 of us in there, and a lot of people say to cheat your way through this, like just count to 3 and click it. I don't know if it's because I'm a musician and I have ears that are tuned to higher frequencies and lower frequencies, that it was okay for me. But I would say don't cheat. It's very easy when you're in there to hear other things around you, so I was like basically holding my breath. But just know that they're gonna do 1 ear at a time, and the beeps that you're gonna hear are in a series of 3. So you're gonna hear beep, 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 click it. I don't know how long till the next one, but every time that I heard a sound, it was 3 beeps. I remember that when you get your, because you're gonna have a packet with you all day, and basically at the different stations you'll give it to the people and they'll write in your data. I remember the beeps, the closer number that you have to 0 on the lines of frequency, the better. 0 is a perfect score, so if you get a lot higher than that, you didn't do too hot. So for us, after everyone went through hearing and vision, we made our way into a classroom. Now, I don't know if this was the best decision on their part, because some of us were waiting in this classroom for a super, super long time. Another thing I'll say right now is that my MEPS was absolutely freezing. And I was just wearing a pair of jeans, sneakers, and a long sleeve shirt. And I think at one point I went to the storage room and I got my winter coat, and I was still so cold. But this classroom was the same as out in the main medical area. It was freezing. So if I were you, I would dress in some layers just to be comfortable, and then you can take them off and put them in the storage room if you don't need them. So we all went into this classroom. Basically, we just had to wait for everyone to get done with vision and hearing before someone was going to come in and talk to us. So when we went in, there's a sheet laying on the table at different seats. Just sit down at an empty sheet, and it's going to have a person on it, and that's for you to fill out like your body piercings, tattoos, things like that. I think it wants scars that are bigger than they give you so many inches. And yeah, that's where you're gonna write down anything that's on your bod. So next, once everyone's in the room, someone should come in and tell you if this is like your medical briefing. So they're gonna tell you about like what the doctor is going to ask you, or what he could ask you, and like what's gonna happen in the mobility exercises and the checkup and things like that. And it's basically just them covering their butts and letting you know what's coming. And after that was done, they asked for all the females to go to the front of the room. We were gonna be leaving first. And on our way out, we did a breathalyzer. So if you've never done a breathalyzer, you just wanna blow hard and fast. For some reason, a lot of people were having trouble with it, and I don't know. You'll get, also at your seat will be like the end piece for a breathalyzer. So you take that up, attach it, blow, take it off, throw it away. They'll give you directions on all of those things, so just pay attention. After the breathalyzer, debrief, classroom stuff, comes the urinalysis, blood work, your individual doctor, and then the last thing that you're going to do will be your underwear Olympics. So throughout your whole time at MEPS, there's going to be seats down a row, and then all of these rooms around it that you'll be going into for these different stations. So whenever someone goes up to their station, you move down and fill in their seat. Always fill in, because the last thing you want to do is for the ladies to get mad at you. So the people working MEPS, the medical wing of MEPS, are civilians, and they don't care. They probably are cold like I am. The lab closes at noon, which means that they need to get everyone through before then, and they just don't want to be there. Why can't you just be nicer? Don't get on their nerves, fill in a seat. You don't want someone else to come in and sit down and be ahead of you when you've been waiting for so long anyway. Just be attentive. For us girls, I'm pretty sure we did blood work first, which is perfectly fine if you're okay with needles. If you're not, just look away. Next was the doctor's visit. He's going to look at your paperwork, the big list of yes or no's, and just ask you about some of the things you have on there. Any medications or things like that, and it should go super smoothly and be pretty fast. Then next, for us females, came the urinalysis. Now let me just tell you, when you are approaching MEPS and you're kind of in the weight range like I was, I'm 5'7", my max for the Army is 166, and I wanted to be 10 pounds under my max for MEPS. Having lost a lot of weight, I get bloated super easily. So going up to MEPS, I had cut my calories down pretty low, and it turns out that I was also definitely dehydrated. So even though I drank a lot of water like the day before and even that morning while we were waiting, I could not pee. I tried once with the first round of us girls. So what's gonna happen is, like I said, I think there were 7 girls, and so one of the MEPS workers will come and take you into the bathroom. For us, there were 2 stalls right here and here. You came in back this way, and then there was a wall here, and the lab window was on the side. So the lab window, they can't see into the stalls. And for us, I think the attendant would have the girls stand like in the doorway. So even the girls that were waiting couldn't see into the stalls either, but the attendant would stand right in front of the stalls, and she's not like staring at you or anything, but she is there while you're trying to go pee. She'll tell you like what to do with the cup, what to do with your hands, when to pull up, things like that. And I just couldn't pee. And I think I even got a second chance and I still couldn't because I was just so dehydrated. But I tried really hard. I drank so much water in the probably 45 minutes that I had between the first try and the second try. And all that did was make me even more frigidly cold and made me gain like 4 pounds. So I couldn't do the urinalysis that day, but they let me continue on to do the mobility test, the underwear Olympics, with the rest of the girls. So I go in and they're all like, "Did you pee?" And I was like, "No, I didn't pee. I'll have to come back." So luckily they let me finish the rest of my physical. Otherwise I would have been really sad to have to come back and do even more. But underwear Olympics is super easy. You go into this room. It's awkward because there's a mirror on the wall and then you're sitting on a bench like with all the girls on one side. There are some like sheets, like curtains that you can pull out, but we didn't. And basically the attendant and a doctor, I think we had 2 doctors. We had 1 male, 1 female, and the attendant. I'm only calling her an attendant because I don't know what to call her. She's probably a nurse, but I don't know what her title was. So there were 3 people in there. And first you're gonna get into your underwear and bra. Definitely, I'm sure you've heard this before, don't wear anything that's like lacy, don't wear a thong, don't do anything like that. Just wear some like nice briefs that'll cover your cheeks. And I just wore black, just probably plain colors that aren't gonna attract negative attention. And a lot of the other girls were saying that their recruiter told them not to wear a sports bra. And I had all males at my station, so none of them specified, so I just wore a sports bra. But I would say probably find something in between, like a comfortable t-shirt bra or something like that. It'll just make it easier for when you have to take it off, and if your MEPS is more strict than mine for like seeing scars and stuff like that. To do the underwear Olympics part, you just have to spread out so you're not touching anyone, and they'll give you a bunch of movements to do, like kicking your leg down. There's one where you have to like crouch and like smack your knees to the floor. They're not super comfortable things, but they're not hard to do either. I'm sure you've heard about the duck walk, all things like that. Super easy. And if you mess up the first time, they'll give you another chance to do it. So if you just are like clumsy and you don't quite get it, they'll let you try it again. So once that's all done, you're gonna do height and weight. And they just write that down on your papers again. And then they'll give you a paper gown and you change into that naked underneath, and then you go and see the doctor in like a little checkup room. And that was super, super easy. Our doctor was, at this point the male had left, and so we just had the woman. So it was the woman doctor and the attendant again in our checkup room. And she was really kind and just talks you through everything that she's doing. And by doing, it's literally just like looking, like I think you start standing, she might do some like reflex things. She'll check your lungs, and she'll check your breast just for any lumps. It was literally just like a couple taps and that was it. And then for like under the hood, she'll just like look, be like okay, and that's pretty much it. And she was really nice, and she can see your whole paperwork thing. And she was like, encouraging and was like, oh, you can just come back tomorrow to do your urinalysis and I'm sure you'll get it. Just get really hydrated tonight. Even if you drink a lot of water at the water fountain, if your body is dehydrated, it's not gonna run through you like it will if you're hydrated. And she was like, she asked me what my job was going to be, and I told her I'm a musician, and she was just really supportive. And so even after an entire day of being freezing, being scared of these women that were working the MEPS medical wing, and just being not comfortable, because you're not comfortable at MEPS, to have her say nice things at the end was a nice comforting note. So if you did pass your urinalysis, this is the point where you would be done with the medical wing. So after you do all your underwear stuff and you see the doctor, you get to go check out of the medical wing. Make sure you're always checking in and out of these places. You can't just leave because the military has to keep track of you. So once you check out, then you go back to your liaison's office, and that's when you're gonna work with a counselor and go over your contract, etc. So for each branch, this might be different. For the Army, I had to work with a counselor on my contract, make sure that my rank was changed because I have a master's degree, so I will be an E4 going in. And this is also where you're gonna do your next of kin information. So make sure that you pay attention and you get that changed if you need it to go to someone who is not your mom or dad. You're also gonna do fingerprints and stuff like that, and they'll get you all prepped to go to the room for enlistment. Now for me, because I couldn't pee, I had a little bit different circumstances. So they were initially talking about making me a holdover. So that just meant that I would have to go and stay in the hotel again and come back on the bus in the morning again. I'm lucky because my MEPS was only a 40-minute drive from my home at the time. So I told them that I would go home and I would drive myself back in the morning. My recruiter tells me it should be super easy. You should just go in. They'll take care of you first, because I would be a special circumstance where I would just have to go do this one thing and then be gone. And it turns out that there was actually another boy from my shuttle the previous day as well who also couldn't pee, and so he was in the same boat. So got there, did the whole security thing again, checked in here, checked in there, was at medical, and him and I were kind of put in this like separate set of chairs, and we were waiting for someone to come do the urinalysis. I was so hydrated. I drank so much water the day before, like once I got home, and then on the way in the morning, I drank a full one of these, and I stopped at McDonald's and got another large water and like a medium coffee. So I got there and I was like ready to pee, because my recruiter told me you can go and they'll get it taken care of right away. Your recruiters don't know anything. So I got there, and it turns out that their computer system was down. On your folder that you were carrying around the previous day, in that folder would be a sheet of barcodes that were on stickers, and you need those barcodes for your lab results for your urinalysis. So their computer was down, which meant that they couldn't print new barcodes for today's shuttle. So now it's Friday. And so instead of taking care of the two of us that were there and just hand making us codes, they didn't realize until like 2 hours later that they would have to be hand making codes for everyone. So I got there to check in at 5:30 like everyone else, and I held it until probably 8 o'clock. I desperately asked one of the workers like when we would be able to do the urinalysis, and she still had no answer for me. She only had attitude, and so I had to leave medical and go pee. And so now I'm freaking out again because I just emptied my bladder. The only thing I'm here to do is pee. And so I stayed out in the main area and sipped from the water fountain a little bit. Came back, I'm waiting with the other guy still. Turns out like a couple minutes later, he's in the same boat, has to go out and pee too. So we're both sitting there and feeling like, okay, we need to like drink more because it could be any minute that we have to do the urinalysis. And so long story short, I ended up peeing 2 more times before they were ready to do the urinalysis. And when it came time for us to do it, I was like, my pee was clear and I was almost on empty. Like, it is a miracle that I filled that cup halfway. If you take anything from this terrible, terrible story, just know, be hydrated before you go to MEPS. Listen, do as you're told. Probably wear layers because it's going to be freezing. And that's pretty much all I got. So I know my MEPS experience might be a little bit different than other people's, but I wish you all the best if you are going to MEPS anytime soon. And let me know if you have any other questions about it down below. I'm going to be making a video soon about my enlistment process as a 42 Romeo and kind of how that works as a military musician, at least with the US Army bands. So if you have any questions about what I'm doing to prepare for basic training, anything about my job in specific, or just random Army questions that I might be able to help you with thus far, I'm very new too, so we're just on this journey together. Please let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.